We think we've got life nailed down and everything's under control, and there are some things that are just beyond our control. So hello, welcome to the vlog. It's going to be a bit of a somber one today, and I'll get into the reasons for that in a minute. Before I do, just to say, yeah, I am here in Sarajevo for the youth conference happening this weekend. It's Saturday morning right now, just heading off to a sound check rehearsal, and yeah, arrived yesterday with BiH, and we're both playing as part of what's going on at the youth conference. So the reason this is a bit of a somber vlog is that Bosnia and Herzegovina right now is in the middle of a I guess disaster, you would say. Massive flooding and landslides. I mean, there's a few places. Jablonec is the worst hit, and yeah, they reckon, well, the last news I read, 20 people have died for sure. There's still people missing, homes underwater, homes under landslides. So I'm not sure how much all of this that I'm going to talk about has made the UK news. Big news over here. So as I was sitting having coffee this morning looking through the news, I was kind of wondering, you know, do we put this on the vlog, do we not put this on the vlog? It's obviously not entertainment. At the same time, we don't ignore something. So all I would say about everything that I'm going to say in the vlog is this is not a news channel. There are news channels to check out to actually have the proper news, but I felt like it was a good thing to talk about on the vlog, because it's something that looms large in Bosnia and Herzegovina this weekend. Now, Sunday, when this vlog is coming out, is election day here, and there's been obviously a massive build up to that over the past couple of months, but I kind of feel like all that will be overshadowed by the human tragedy of what's gone on. So one of the things that's happened near Jablonec was this massive landslide from under the railway line, and this is the railway line that runs north-south in the country, links Sarajevo and Mostar, and goes all the way down to the coast. And yeah, a stretch of 200 meters of railway line is now just hanging in the air as all the ground underneath it has just fallen away. And yeah, it just makes you realize sort of how fragile stuff is. So the road between Sarajevo and Mostar is the main north-south road in the country, and or at least, you know, down the centre of the country it's now impassable. And yeah, it's weird to think about that, just how fragile infrastructure can be. I know for me, I'm always sort of very aware of the roads you're driving through and what's sort of over your head. And like for us, if we're driving from Yaitsa to Banja Luka, you're driving through these canyons. There's, you know, roads being cut into the side of a cliff almost, and you've got massive rocks above you, and there's always rock falls, and you always see little bits of rocks on the road. And so yeah, it's quite something to see pictures and video of enormous lumps of rock that have fallen onto the road, to see roads where the ground underneath has subsided and the roads are all cracked, and to know that those are roads that you've driven, a reminder that some things are not as solid as we think they are. And as you know from the last vlog, Rowan and I were in England last week, and one of the conversations I had there was about earthquakes, and I was saying, you know, since we moved to Bosnia and Herzegovina, the country gets quite a lot of earthquakes, certainly if you compare it to the UK where they're very rare. And I can think of at least in the last 15 years half a dozen which have been memorable. You know, you remember where you were, what was going on at the time, how much the house shook and stuff like that. We had one the other week, just before we went to the UK. Rowan and I were sitting on the balcony just having lunch on our house, an earthquake hit, yeah, the house shook. And when you're sitting on the balcony, that's a different kind of feeling than if you're sitting in your lounge. Almost everything can be shaken, and the Bible talks about that. And sometimes it's easy to forget. We think we've got life nailed down and everything's under control, and there are some things that are just beyond our control. Tragedies like what's going on in parts of Bosnia right now. I know in the UK insurance will talk about acts of God, you know, things, natural disasters that happen that are beyond anyone's control, and I'm not saying that what's happening right now in parts of Bosnia that God made it happen, but what I would say is that when everything's shaken, there's only one thing that can't be shaken, and that's God. And for me, putting my faith in him is putting my faith in something that I believe can't be shaken, as opposed to putting my faith in a building or in something in the world which ultimately can be shaken, that can crumble and fall. So in a situation where it's really easy to feel helpless, and what can you do to help, or what could you do to prevent something like that, some of those are big, almost unanswerable questions. But the thing that I can do is make sure that my faith and my trust is in something unshakable, because if my faith is in something unshakable, then it's easier for me to be helpful to other people who are shaken and who have found the foundations of their life to be crumbling. So I think that is it for this week's vlog. It is a more somber one, a more sober one, but I think the situation kind of makes that appropriate for this week. Hopefully there's something helpful for you in there. We're not going to ask for thumbs up for tragedy, because that seems like the wrong thing to say. But thanks very much for watching. Do remember that together we do adventure. We'll see you next time.